As the sleek black car screeched to a halt, Skylar Diaz stepped out, her sharp crimson suit catching the glint of the morning sun. She had a reputation: bold, unrelenting, and dangerously ambitious. Skylar wasn't here to be underestimated. Her presence demanded attention. The rush of the city around her buzzed with life, but she had her sights set on one place: the Apex Hotel. Today was supposed to mark the start of a hard-earned getaway, but Skylar had learned to trust her gut, and something about today felt off. Behind her, Marco, her ever-reliable assistant, juggled their luggage. "Sky, you sure about this? Got a weird vibe from the confirmation email yesterday," he muttered. Skylar shot him a confident smile, brushing off his concern with a wave of her manicured hand. "We're VIPs, Marco. They'll roll out the red carpet." But as they walked through the lavish glass doors into the Apex's opulent lobby, Skylar's smile faded. The place was stunning. Towering chandeliers, marble floors, but she couldn't ignore the cold stares that followed them. Her instinct sharpened. She made her way straight to the front desk where a stiff receptionist barely glanced up. "Reservation under Skylar Diaz," Marco announced, but the receptionist's eyes darted from Skylar to the computer and back again. An uncomfortable pause followed, and the air grew heavy. "I'm sorry, there's no reservation under that name," she said, her voice tinged with false courtesy. Skylar's eyes narrowed. She had encountered this sort of thing before: subtle, polite dismissals that carried a sharp edge. Marco's expression darkened, but Skylar raised a hand to calm him. "Check again," she suggested smoothly, though tension buzzed beneath her calm exterior. As if on cue, the hotel manager, a man with a meticulously styled beard and a name tag that read Elliot Sinclair, appeared. "Is there a problem here?" he inquired, his tone dripping with artificial concern. Skylar's jaw clenched, but she kept her voice even. "Yes, there seems to be. My reservation's missing." Elliot offered a tight-lipped smile. "I'm afraid our suites are fully booked. You see, it's a particularly busy week. We appreciate your understanding." The lie was transparent, and Skylar felt the heat rise in her chest. But instead of lashing out, she locked eyes with Elliot, her expression unflinching. "Thank you for your time," she replied, turning on her heel and striding out, head held high. Marco followed, fuming. "This is ridiculous, Sky. We should blast this all over social media. Bring them down," he urged, but Skylar shook her head, a steely resolve in her eyes. "Not yet. They want me to lose my cool, and I won't give them that satisfaction. Let's find another place tonight." Hours later, from a new hotel room, Skylar's mind whirred with possibilities. She wasn't the type to let an insult slide. Instead of stewing, she decided to act. Her fingers flew over her laptop keyboard, pulling up every scrap of information she could find on the Apex. And she found something: a vulnerability. The Apex Hotel wasn't the impenetrable fortress it seemed to be. Beneath the glamorous exterior, it was bleeding money, struggling to maintain its image while quietly drowning in debt. Skylar's lips curled into a dangerous smile. "Time to turn this to our advantage, Marco." Within days, Skylar had assembled a plan, using her extensive network to initiate a quiet takeover. She made a call to her lawyer, adjusting her tie. "Get the papers ready. I want full control." What followed was a whirlwind of meetings, negotiations, and signatures. It was surgical, ruthless, and executed with the precision that made Skylar famous in the business world. Before the staff at the Apex could even blink, the hotel was hers. They didn't even realize who their new boss was. Skylar returned to the Apex a week later, but this time, she wasn't a guest. As she entered through those same glass doors, the receptionist's face drained of color, recognizing her instantly. Skylar strode up to the desk with the confidence of someone who owned the place, because she did. "I'm not here for a reservation," she said, her voice cool and collected. "I'm here to see my new property." Elliot appeared again, his forced smile faltering as realization dawned. He stammered, but Skylar cut him off with a wave of her hand. "I'll be in the boardroom, Mr. Sinclair. Gather your team. We have some changes to discuss." She moved through the hotel like she owned the place, because now she did. Upstairs, she faced the management team, eyes hard as steel. The apex is going to change, she declared. Starting now, we're going to be a place where everyone is treated equally. No exceptions. Elliot shifted uncomfortably in his seat, but Skylar wasn't done. If you can't align with this vision, you're free to walk. But if you stay, we're rebuilding from the ground up. The era of exclusivity is over. Skylar threw herself into transforming the apex, and the changes were immediate. She hired new staff, retrained old ones, and invited consultants to ensure that the hotel's new policies weren't just words. It was hard work, but she thrived on it. Within weeks, the word spread like wildfire. Skylar Diaz had taken over the apex, and it was no longer a bastion of elitism, but a place where everyone was welcome. Some old clients grumbled, but Skylar didn't care. She watched as new faces filled the lobby, people who had never felt welcome there before. The hotel buzzed with a fresh energy, and soon the city was talking about the transformation. The apex, once a symbol of exclusion, had become a beacon of change. One evening, Marco burst into her office with a newspaper in hand. "Sky, look at this," he exclaimed, his excitement barely contained. The headline read, "Skylar Diaz transforms Apex Hotel into icon of equality." Skylar skimmed the article, a satisfied smile spreading across her face. "We did it, Marco. And this is just the beginning." She gazed out at the city skyline, thinking of all the doors still left to open. Skylar wasn't satisfied with changing just one hotel. She had a vision to reshape the industry, to create spaces where everyone was welcome, where no one had to question whether they belonged. The Apex was the first step, but it wouldn't be the last. The next day, Skylar announced a new initiative, a foundation to support underrepresented entrepreneurs in the hospitality industry. Applications poured in, and the program quickly gained momentum. Skylar threw herself into mentorship, sharing her knowledge with people who, like her, had faced closed doors. She even hosted workshops at the Apex, inviting young entrepreneurs to learn directly from her experiences. The hotel's grand ballroom became a hub of innovation and fresh ideas. Skylar's hands-on approach inspired many, and soon, the Apex wasn't just a hotel, it was a community. But she didn't forget the lessons from her own struggle. Whenever she walked through the Apex's bustling lobby, she remembered the sting of that first rejection. It drove her to push harder, to create a future where no one would have to fight just to be seen. The transformation wasn't without its challenges. Some members of the old guard resisted, clinging to outdated policies. Skylar faced pushback from conservative investors and even some staff who struggled to adapt to the new culture. But she tackled these issues head-on, hosting town halls and inviting open discussions to address concerns. One of the most poignant moments came when a former guest, who had faced similar treatment in the past, wrote to Skylar, thanking her for changing the hotel's ethos. Skylar kept that letter in her desk as a reminder of why she started this journey. Months later, as she sat on the rooftop of the Apex, overlooking the city she had once felt excluded from, Skylar felt a rare moment of peace. Marco joined her, holding 2 glasses of champagne. "To change," he said, handing her one. Skylar clinked her glass against his, a knowing smile in her eyes. "To breaking the rules," she replied. They drank to that, to the journey, and to the battles still to come. For Skylar Diaz, victory wasn't just about winning a fight. It was about rewriting the rules of the game. And as long as there were doors to kick open, she knew she'd never stop. Skylar's story spread beyond the city, catching the attention of media and fellow entrepreneurs nationwide. Soon, she was invited to speak at conferences, her story becoming a symbol of resilience and the power of challenging norms. Each time she stood in front of a crowd, she shared not just the triumph, but the struggle, the late nights, the setbacks, and the constant pressure to prove herself. Her authenticity resonated, inspiring many to take their own leaps. Skylar wasn't just changing the hospitality industry, she was inspiring a movement. And as she looked toward the future, she knew one thing for sure. This was only the beginning of a much bigger story.